the grand tapestry of human history, few stories are as charged with drama, betrayal, and enduring mystery as that of Judas Iscariot. His name has become synonymous with treason, a cautionary tale whispered through the ages. But is the story really that simple? Was Judas just a greedy traitor? Or is there something more complex, more human, and perhaps more troubling at the heart of his actions? Today, we delve into the shadows of history to explore the Judas paradox. For nearly 2,000 years, the narrative has been straightforward. Judas, one of the 12 apostles, the inner circle of Jesus of Nazareth, sold his master for 30 pieces of silver. A kiss in the Garden of Gethsemane, a signal for the authorities, and the final act of Jesus' ministry was set in motion. The Gospels paint a picture of a man corrupted by greed, the treasurer of the group who, according to the Gospel of John, used to help himself to the money bag. This betrayal, we are told, leads directly to Jesus' crucifixion. In this traditional view, Judas is the archetypal villain. His actions a necessary, albeit evil, component of a divine plan. He plays his part, and his part is that of the betrayer. The story concludes with his own tragic end, consumed by remorse, a life, and a name forever tarnished. But what if we pull at the threads of this ancient story? What if we look beyond the accepted narrative? When we do, we find that the figure of Judas is far from one-dimensional. Questions begin to surface, creating a paradox that has fascinated theologians, historians, and thinkers for centuries. Why would a man who walked with Jesus, who witnessed his teachings and miracles firsthand, throw it all away for what was, even then, a relatively modest sum of money? 30 pieces of silver was the standard price for a slave. Is the loyalty of an apostle really so cheap? This question opens up a fascinating field of speculation. Some scholars suggest that Judas's motives were not rooted in greed, but in politics. In the 1st century, Judea was under Roman occupation, a land simmering with revolutionary fever. Many Jews longed for a Messiah who was not just a spiritual leader, but a political and military liberator, a king who would overthrow the Roman oppressors and restore the kingdom of David. Could it be that Judas, like many others, saw this potential in Jesus? Perhaps he grew impatient. Perhaps he believed that by forcing a confrontation between Jesus and the authorities, he could compel Jesus to reveal his true power, to unleash his divine might, and to finally launch the long-awaited rebellion. In this interpretation, the betrayal was not an act of malice, but a desperate, misguided attempt to kickstart a revolution. The kiss in the garden wasn't a signal of hate, but a tragically flawed gambit, a push to force Jesus' hand. This theory reframes Judas from a simple villain into a complex political zealot, a man whose faith in Jesus' power was so strong that he could unconceive of any other outcome than victory. His subsequent despair, then, wasn't just guilt over betraying a friend, but the shattering of his entire worldview. The Messiah he had believed in, the king he had hoped for, had chosen a different path, the path of sacrifice, not conquest. His plan had backfired in the most catastrophic way imaginable. Then there's another, even more radical interpretation, brought into the mainstream by the discovery of the Gospel of Judas in the 1970s. This ancient Gnostic text, deemed heretical by the early church, paints an entirely different portrait. In this version, Judas is not the betrayer, but the most loyal disciple. He is the only one who truly understands Jesus' divine nature and his mission. The betrayal is not a betrayal at all. It is a sacred act, a final task assigned to him by Jesus himself. According to this text, Jesus tells Judas, "You will exceed all of them, for you will sacrifice the man that clothes me." In other words, by handing Jesus over to be crucified, Judas is helping him shed his physical body, liberating his divine spirit from its mortal prison. Here, Judas is a hero, a key player in a cosmic drama who willingly accepts the condemnation of history to fulfill a divine command. He is the chosen one, set apart for the most difficult and misunderstood role of all. While the historical authenticity of the Gospel of Judas is debated, its existence shows that from the earliest days of Christianity, there were alternative ways of understanding this pivotal event. It reveals a deep-seated unease with the traditional narrative and a desire to find a more profound meaning in Judas's actions. It forces us to ask, what if betrayal is sometimes a form of obedience? What if the greatest act of loyalty can look to the outside world like the ultimate act of treason? This leads us to the heart of the Judas paradox, the problem of free will versus predestination. The New Testament itself seems to send mixed signals. Jesus predicts his own betrayal and even identifies Judas as the one who will do it. He says, "The Son of Man will go just as it is written about him. But woe to that man by whom the Son of Man is betrayed." This raises a profound theological question. If Judas's betrayal was foretold, if it was a necessary part of God's plan for salvation, did he really have a choice? Could he have done otherwise? If he was merely a pawn in a divine chess game, is it fair to condemn him for his role? Or was he still a free agent, making a conscious choice for which he is fully responsible? This is a dilemma with no easy answer. It touches upon some of the deepest questions of our existence. Are we the masters of our fate, or are our lives scripted by a higher power? The story of Judas becomes a mirror, reflecting our own struggles with choice, destiny, and moral responsibility. We see in him the potential for greatness and the capacity for terrible failure that exists within us all. Perhaps the most human aspect of this story is the aftermath. Regardless of his motives, greed, political zeal, or divine instruction, the accounts agree on one thing: Judas was overcome by remorse. Matthew's gospel tells us he tried to return the 30 pieces of silver, crying out, "I have sinned, for I have betrayed innocent blood." When the priests refuse to take the money back, he throws it into the temple and goes out and hangs himself. This is not the action of a cold, calculating villain. This is the act of a broken man, tormented by the consequences of his actions. His despair is palpable. It adds a layer of tragic humanity to his character, making him more than just a symbol of evil. He is a man who made a catastrophic mistake and couldn't live with himself. So, who was Judas Iscariot? A greedy thief? Misguided patriot? A secret hero? A tragic pawn of fate? The truth is, we will likely never know for sure. The historical records are too sparse, too filtered through the lens of theology and time. But perhaps the enduring power of his story lies not in finding a definitive answer, but in the questions it forces us to ask. The Judas paradox challenges us to look beyond simple labels of good and evil. It reminds us that human motivations are often complex and contradictory. It compels us to consider the fine line between faith and fanaticism, between loyalty and betrayal. It pushes us to think about the nature of destiny and the weight of our own choices. The story of Judas is not just a religious tale from 2,000 years ago. It's a timeless human drama that continues to resonate because it speaks to the complexities of our own hearts. We've all faced moments of choice, moments where loyalty is tested, moments where our actions have unforeseen and devastating consequences. We've all known the sting of regret. In the end, Judas remains an enigma, a figure shrouded in the mists of history and theology. He is the villain we need, the scapegoat who allows for a clear moral line. But he is also a puzzle, a paradox that disrupts our certainties. And in that disruption, there is a profound lesson that the most compelling stories are rarely the ones with easy answers. They are the ones that stay with us, that haunt our thoughts, and that force us to look deeper, not just into the past, but into ourselves. Thank you for watching. If you found this exploration thought-provoking, please like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into the mysteries of history.